Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're doing an exciting video. We are going to take a look and I'm gonna review for you guys the Anastasia Beverly Hills Prism palette. So I went out to buy it as soon as I heard that it was out. This is the limited edition holiday release for Anastasia, and I didn't per se hear anything good or bad of it before I went to buy it, but since I have Modern Renaissance and the Subculture palette and I love them both, I decided to pick this one up. The thing that really attracted me to it was the fact that Subculture is a very matte heavy palette, and I felt that there we were missing a little bit of shimmers and interesting things to put on the lid. Whereas this one here, the Prism, is very glitter heavy, let's say. There's a lot of sparkle, there's a lot of dimension and texture in the shadows, and I thought it would be the perfect companion for Subculture. And here you can see them side by side. I think they are a match made in heaven. There's a few shades that, especially if you know, I love Axis from Subculture, and it paired with Throne is one of my favorite pairings to do, a monochrome teal look. So yeah, I picked it up immediately when it came out at Ulta, and I was lucky enough to get it with a 20% discount. The Prism palette retails for $42 full price in the United States. I know it's available on the Anastasia Beverly Hills websites, both in the United States and in the UK, and on multiple retailers in Europe as well. I think Cult Beauty has it, I know Beautylicious in the EU, and multiple other websites have it as well. So it is readily available. As far as I know, it's not sold out anywhere. So yeah, let's get into talking about this palette. Overall, the formula of the mattes in this one is better than in the Subculture, in the sense that there is less fallout, it's less difficult, let's say, to use. I love Subculture and I have gotten used to the way it's supposed to be used, so I don't mind those mattes at all, but I know that they take a little bit of work and they take patience, whereas these are much easier to work with. You can definitely use them on a daily basis, wake up in the morning, go to work type of situation, as well as more complex looks. So the mattes are better here than in Subculture. They're more pigmented than Modern Renaissance, and definitely more interesting colors, I have to say. Of the three, Modern Renaissance is definitely the one that I like the least. Then let's talk duds. There's a few shades that are not wonderful. One of them is this light shade here called Lucid. Sorry, maybe if I hold it straight. This is a light metallic duochrome. It's a white with a gold shift. It's very beautiful. I have it today on the inner corners, layered on top of Sphere, but it is not easy to pick up. You can with a more natural bristle brush rather than a synthetic brush, because that will dig a little bit into the pan and disturb the pan itself. All of the shimmers here are very silicone heavy, so they are very creamy and a little bit more difficult to pick up and transfer on the lid. In the makeup look that I did today, for example, I used the shade Dimension, and I first applied it with a brush all over my lid, and then to actually get the boom of color and reflex that Dimension has, I went back on top of that with my finger. I think that is the best way to apply these. Actually, I always put a base on with my brush, and then I pat it on top. When I'm done all the blending, I pat on top with my finger to get the maximum impact. Now, these shimmers are actually very special, I find. Dimension, Pyramid, Throne, Element, and Osiris are all glitter shades, I would say. They have a base color, but they're very heavy with glitter, and this is what makes Prism. It's different textures, it's different effects with the light as it hits it. I find that is a very new type of eyeshadow. It reminds me maybe a little bit of Colourpop, but it gives more impact, I find, and the shades are absolutely gorgeous. Another dud in this is Osiris. Unfortunately, it looks like a beautiful purple with some pink glitter in here, whereas it actually only shows up as a dark base with some glitter. It's not that opaque. I really do not like or use this shade at all, and that is really, really sad. But that is really the only dud. This one is workable compared to it. Would I recommend this palette? Yes, if you like to collect. Do you need this palette? Probably not. The colors are okay. In the second part of this video, I will show you all the dupes that I found. They are quite unique colors, but I don't think it's colors that everybody needs to have in their collection. These gold, the copper, and the bronze, they're all shades we all have. Same with the brown, the orange, the cooler tone nude. These are all shades we have, and what makes it special is the glitter, and what makes it special is the shade Sphere, for example, and the shade Dimension. For the rest, I think you can live without it. If you're a collector and you like to use different palettes and different colors, I would definitely recommend it. It works very well. The mattes are easy to use, and you can create a ton of looks with this. I do think it is a little bit confusing sometimes. Like, what type of look am I gonna do? Today, I was a little bit uninspired actually, and I went online browsing and decided to, just make a contrast between cool and warm shades, and then add Sphere in the inner corner because I wanted to showcase that you can use it in a wearable look, if you call this a wearable look. I do, but yeah, I'm a bit crazy, I guess. So let's get shade by shade, because I've been blabbing for 10 minutes already. As I said earlier, Lucid is a duochrome gold and with a white base. The white base almost doesn't show up, and it's beautiful to use as a topper over any other shade like I'm using today. A very, very close dupe is Colourpop Now and Zen. This is one of the new fall shades. I will link the swatch video for those ones down below. And compared to Electric in the Subculture palette, Lucid is much more of a metallic, whereas Electric is a glitter top coat. So they're different, and Electric leans a bit more yellow than white like Lucid. Moving on to Eden. Eden is a beautiful medium peach corally, let's say matte. I have almost perfect dupes in Colourpop Wait For It and Colourpop Cutouts, and these swatches actually made me realize that I don't need both of those Colourpop shadows. Yay for decluttering. Anyways, and the comparison with Roxy in the Subculture palette shows you how Eden is a little bit more pink and Roxy is a little bit more orange. Next is Unity, and Unity is the perfect shade you need to put down for first transition, I find. On my skin tone, it is too dark for a brow bone highlight, but it's perfect to start the blending. And it is more yellow than Golden Ochre and Dawn in the Modern Renaissance and Subculture, respectively. Colourpop Locked and Loaded is lighter, and Makeup Geek Beaches and Cream is also a bit lighter and less yellow overall. It is a good shade, it blends really nicely. I am very happy it's in there because I always need one of these shades in my palettes. Next shade is Sphinx. Now this is a bit more of a problematic one in the sense that it's not as well pressed, I find. It is very strongly pressed, and with the high amount of silicone in there, it's difficult to pick it up with a brush. It almost doesn't show up at all. So this one really you need to apply with a finger, and even then the transfer to your lid is not ideal. However, it is quite a nice bronze shade. I compared it to Adorn in the Subculture, which is much more orange toned, and to Nabla Rust, which comes a bit closer but doesn't have the same shine. Overall, this is the more normal, I guess, shade that you could do probably with any of the browns or bronzes that you have at home and you don't really need. Next shade is Osiris. This is the dud in the palette. I do not like it. And it is a dark, I would say pretty much black base with some purple and gold and copper glitter on top, but this almost doesn't show up in swatches, on the eyes, nowhere, only in the pan you can see it. I compared this with Makeup Geek Drama Queen, but Makeup Geek Drama Queen is a dark base with a purple shimmer, so it shows up a little bit more than the glitter in Osiris. Overall, if you have to pick between the two, I would pick Drama Queen. The next shade is Sphere, and Sphere is a unique lime neon yellow matte shade. It actually shows up really nicely when you apply it on the eyes, and it is like nothing in my collection. I compare it here to Makeup Geek Limelight, but that is a foiled eyeshadow, so it's a completely different, and Limelight leans a little bit more green than Sphere. I don't have anything like it. It is very unique, and it really pushes you to try to use it in different ways. It works well in the crease, lower lash line, inner corner, all over the lid as well, with Lucid on top, that I've done before, and it's really nice. I've compared it also to Edge in the Subculture palette and New Wave in the Subculture palette, just to show you the difference in the yellows that you can get with the two different palettes. The next shade is Obsidian, and this is not a pure black. It doesn't swatch like it. I don't think it's meant for it. It's really a smoky shade. It's meant to deepen the outer corner. Whatever type of look you decide to make, you just use that on the outer corner and you layer on top the rest of the shadows to deepen the look. I think that works well. It's not overly pigmented, and you can actually blend it quite nicely. Again, it's the same idea as the Subculture palette, in the sense that if you apply the shade where you want it with a stiffer brush, and then you take a fluffier brush to blend it out, it works perfectly fine. In the second row, we move on to Dimension, and this is a very unique purpley silver base with a ton of glitter on top. The glitter is mainly hot pink, and I find it a very beautiful and quite unique shade. I compare it here to Makeup Geek Hype, which is a foiled shadow with also some glitter in it, and it's not exactly the same, and I don't have a dupe for Dimension. The next shade is Parallel. Parallel is a brown, and that's because it's perfect to deepen up the crease with any of the looks you use. It's slightly darker than Fudge in the Subculture and lighter than Cypress Umber in Modern Renaissance. You can probably find dupes for a matte brown, medium brown shade in your collection, so I didn't go through all of my shadows because the undertones are all slightly different, and it's fine. Something that I like that is in the palette, but not necessary per se, and not a shade that you need the palette for. Next shade is Pyramid, and here comes a big difference that you can see compared to any other shadow. Pyramid is a very strong gold, but it has a lot of glitter on top. It's a yellow gold with a lot of glitter on top. Compared to Colourpop Two Birds and Makeup Geek Untamed, it's slightly less orange and less yellow, let's say, and it is less metallic because it has all of that glitter inside, and the glitter really shows up. It's gorgeous. You don't need a topper to this shadow because it has everything already itself. I also compared it to Makeup Geek Magic Act, which is actually more of a pale gold compared, and with Nabla Cleo, which is a bit darker and less shiny and shimmery than that. But I know that a lot of you guys are from Europe, and Nabla makes some great eyeshadow, so I wanted to add the comparison in there. Next comes my favorite shade in the palette. The one almost I got the palette for, and that is Throne. Throne is a very dark green base, I'd say, with a teal shimmer to it, and a little bit of purple thrown in that glitter as well. And it is pretty unique, and I couldn't really dupe it perfectly. You can see it here compared with Makeup Geek Houdini, which is slightly more blue, but actually quite close. And Makeup Geek Envy, which is not a foiled shadow, is a regular shimmer and is closer in tone, but has nothing like the shine of the other two. I Put in there also Axis from the Subculture, just to show you what I was saying before of how beautiful the combination is. I love Axis and Throne together. Moving on to Saturn, I wanted to compare this with the orange and yellows in the Subculture palette, so you see it next to Edge and New Wave. And you can see that it's definitely a deeper, more brown and just more orange matte shade. Compared to Makeup Geek Morocco, it's a bit more muted and Morocco is still a bit lighter. And Colourpop Crisscross comes quite close, I must say. And Crisscross is one of my favorite shadows of all time, also for the formula of it. Saturn blends really well. It is nicely pigmented but not patchy at all. I really like that transition shade and it is definitely up my alley. We come now to Eternal, and Eternal is copper with a lot of glitter. Again, like Pyramid, like the gold, this one has a less strong base but a very strong glitter on top. I love this shade, and this is also why you want to apply it with your fingers. You want to make sure the glitter transfers on there. I compared it to Makeup Geek Flamethrower, which is a foil with some silver glitter on top, and with Colourpop Millie, which is also a foiled eyeshadow. They're quite similar, but Eternal has this glitter on top that is just so gorgeous. I love pairing Eternal and Pyramid just for a nice gradient warm tone, and the glitter is fantastic. The last shade in the palette is Lure, and Lure is your, let's say, purpley transition shade for this palette. It is slightly warmer and less purple than you'd expect in real life, but it is perfect to use as a transition in the crease with the other purpley shade and to give a little bit of a change compared to the usual orange shades in the crease like I did. I compare it here with Buon Fresco from Modern Renaissance and Colourpop Chic Happens. You can see, you can actually quite find a dupe for it. Buon Fresco is not really close, but Chic Happens is. And I threw in Wild West from Makeup Geek just to give you an idea of a shade that you might have. And Wild West is darker. So here were all the shades and the dupes that I found, or rather comparisons. I actually had a harder time to dupe this palette than I thought. A few of the shades were easy, but the unique glitter texture that they have, that the shadows have, definitely makes it unique. And as I said, if you want something very sparkly and different, this is not a palette you need, definitely not. I would rather say if you're someone for darker colors, buy Subculture first. But it's a beautiful palette and it works very well, so definitely if you're in doubt whether to buy it, I would say yes. And just to show you a little bit, this is my dupes or alternatives palette that I put together. It looks a bit crazy, but I have a lot of fun doing these things. I will add here at the end a little tutorial on how I realized this look, just to show you how easy they are to blend and to work with. I think the look came out nicely. It's something a little bit different for me. I always tend to gravitate towards Throne and the green and maybe popping sphere in the inner corner like here. If you've seen on Instagram, that's pretty much all I've been doing with this palette and using a lot of the orange shades. Definitely look on my Instagram account for more inspiration on looks to do with the Prism palette, but overall I find that it is a good palette. You don't need it, but it's a good addition to a collection that needs a little bit of sparkle in their life. I think the sparkle is the main selling point, as well as Throne. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will have photos of all the swatches in my blog, which I will link down below. And I hope you are following me on my journey to decluttering my collection. Be assured that these palettes are not going anywhere, nor are my singles. I'm terrible at it. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. But give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know down below if you've tried the palette or what your thoughts are, or if you want different comparisons. I can do them on my Instagram or on my blog in the coming days. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!